Okay, now in this video, I'm going to talk about the structuring versus the risk analysis mode of a model. Gotta please understand that, and it took me too long to understand this. A model could be used for structuring the contracts, figuring out what the right size of the debt is, the repayment, and blah blah blah, the PPA contracts, and what to bid, or it could be used to do some credit analysis. Both are very important. Sometimes you'll use one model for one and another for the other, but this time I want to use them for both. And what I'm going to try to do in this video, and I probably will be not successful because I got these damn values. Oh, I shouldn't say swore. Okay, we're going to show you how to use this function. I'm going to fix it so it doesn't always give you these values. So if it uses a new value, it changes, and if you put false and you change a value, it doesn't change. I want to fix this function because I think this is like a flexible copy-paste function, such an easy function. I'm going to show you, and we're going to see if it will work to do this. Don't ignore these values. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. All right, we'll figure out how to fix that little horrible thing. I wish these things would be a little easier than they are. Now let's call this, sculpting, structuring and risk analysis. Okay, and I'll put that somewhere on the disk. Okay, and let's now I'm going to walk through it. Okay, Shift Control C, I hope works. So we've got a period, we've got some assumptions, and then we've got a cash flow waterfall, and blah, blah, blah. Start with it. I got a lifetime of a project of 30, so the very first thing to do in any model, of course, is to make a nice little switch, probably. And then Shift Control R, so I made it, oops, I should have put less than or equal to, and maybe Alt-IS, and let's go to 40. Okay, and then Shift Control R, and then less than, and not minus, less than or equal to. Okay, and we have this. Okay, I'm switching. I'm going to make that coloring thing a little better eventually. Now, I put a growth rate in, and I made sure we can have a negative growth rate or a positive growth rate, and I put a little spinner box in. Now I made 15 our kind of middle number, so what this does for the growth rate with the spinner box is say, take this minus 15 and go from 0 to 30, so we can put a minus or a plus in, okay? I didn't explain it very well, but it's pretty clear. And then we have an EPC cost. I'm going to have to change that EPC cost, I'm sure. Let's get our CapEx here. And I think maybe I need another column here. I kind of need a column 0, okay? And then we put in our base EBITDA, which I said was 98 now. Just F4 times the switch. I was debating whether to even do this. Oops. And then the growth index, let's put here. And let's start with 1 and then just grow it. Okay, I don't think that's a special rule for making a growth index. Okay, and then our EBITDA is just this one. So we wanted a different EBITDA so we can do the sculpting. And let's put our CapEx in here. Okay, and then our pre-tax cash flow. All right. Now, if you have no construction period, that's really about how easy a model is. And some solar models are just like this. And then we can compute our project IRR. And, the reason I'm doing this, even in this simple case, moaned about this so much. We got a 6.8% project IRR. We have an interest rate shift control P of 4. Now, the first thing we do is, after this, I use Alt WFF on this one, up, and then we go down and say, okay, let's put our EPC cost in. And then for the debt, we're going to get that from our sculpting analysis in just a minute. Now, I should have done this, excuse me, but we have up here, we're going to put the NPV of the debt service. Okay, so on this one, I said, okay, we're going to go to our assumptions. Now, there should be 5, but we have no funding. How do we size the debt? How do we fund it? Not there. How do we repay it? What's the interest? And what kind of other little features do we have? Okay, so the debt is, we don't know yet. I'll put the equity as the total minus the debt. I'll fill this in, might as well. On the cash flow, on the repayment switch, let's go and get our tenor of our debt and put it here. And we say, okay, when our good old year is less than or equal to our tenor, then we'll be a repayment switch. And then if we want to make the sculpting, we just say, okay, we'll put in our debt size here, okay, and we say, all right, well, let's take the switch times our pre-tax cash flow, which should be CFADS, which gives you a circular reference and all that, and then press F4. Shift Control 1, Shift Control. Hope that stopped in year 20. Okay, that's what I was supposed to do. Excuse me. Our repayment is going to be this minus the interest. Total debt service is interest plus repayment. Hey, don't worry that you don't have it yet, and then we can get the NPV. Now, of course, if the you know the debt is whatever, the interest rate is changing, you have to use a different debt. Okay, and then we go to our closing balance of the debt. Actually, let's just put that debt here. Okay, and I'm not putting any constraint in or anything else. We'll just start with that, and then we have the closing balance of the debt to start with, and the opening balance. And maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe somebody's going to get really pissed off or irritated at me. The draws came here. I don't put the draws. Our repayment is from up here, and I'm not going to put an cash sweep in yet, and I'm going to subtract the repayment and the cash sweep, and I'm just going to copy this across, and we go across, and oh shoot, did I not put just a minute. Oh, I didn't put the interest in here. Okay, not bad. Not a worry yet. Oh God. Oh no. Okay, so we'll just take our opening balance of the debt, multiply it by our interest rate, and then we're finished. Hopefully it went to 0. Ah, good. And then we put our EBITDA in our cash flow waterfall, and that's about how fast it should take you to make a fundamental structure of a model. Okay, a project finance model. If anybody says, it's so too complicated, I can't do it, bull. Okay, and then we put this as the difference of our cash. I'm not going to even bother computing the IRR. Now, here's what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to leave the cash sweep out for a minute and put the dividends in. And what we'd like to do is fix the debt. I would like to fix all the debt, and we're going to do it 2 ways. Okay, I'm going to save this. Okay, and then I don't know why I press F12 to save it instead of Control S, but whatever. I'm going to save it as a new name later. Okay, maybe that's why I did it. And we're going to put it with a function. Okay, so maybe this will be part 1. I'll put the video in 2 parts. Now this is a pain. I hate this. So what we need to do now, and maybe this is why I've did everything first because that was so easy. Then we put fix the debt. And just put a little true here, okay? So we can fix the debt. And if this switch is true, I hope you see why I want to do it, then up here on the repayment, we've got to change two things. We've got to change we've got to copy and paste this restructuring from the payment. So what we can do now is put, I think the best way to do this would be to put fixed repayment, and then we put, down here, we put repayment applied. You know, and this is going to be, I'm going to just get this true or false. So if this is true, we want to take the fixed repayment. If it's not true, we want to take the, you know what I mean, the sculpted one, the one we just did, so we can change the DSCR and everything else. Now over here, I think it might be good to put fixed. So if we, over here, let's put structured. Okay, and that's just our repayment that we computed. And then we'll put, we don't really need that thing, and then we'll put fixed, just like we did here. Okay, we'll leave that blank, and then we'll put applied. And we can even put the little true and false switch in here again. So we've got to make a copy and paste macro that does two things. It's got to, we're going to copy this structure to the fixed, and I'm going to call this, how about debt amount, debt STR, we'll call that, and then we'll put debt fixed. We need range names, okay? And up here, this thing will, if this is true, we'll take this one's true, we'll take the fixed, otherwise we'll take the a variable. And I think we probably should, why don't we do this? I'll call this fixed debt switch. So I'll just call this fixed debt. I hope I did it okay. Excuse me. And then we're going to have to do the same. This is what I hate. I hope you see why I just hate this copy and paste crap. And that's why I'm going to try to do it with the other one. So this is fixed, repay fixed. One of the reasons I hate it is I can never remember anything. And then this is repay structured. Excuse me, I'm sorry, that must be so irritating to you. And then if this is true, if the repayment is true, we're going to take the applied one will just be either the structured or the fixed. And then we can just make a little, oh man, maybe I should turn this off and switch. Oh. Okay, so if I press Shift Control F3 after that, I get the left column. And then here's what I'll do. I'll just put 100 and use my Shift Control R and then Shift Control F3. Okay. Now, what we want to do, oh no, is we want to go to our Developer tab, insert a little button, and run a macro to fix this. Up. We want to run them. I'm going to have to turn this off in a minute. Ah, shoot. Okay, just a minute. I'm coughing too much. We'll see how I'm doing now. I'm not doing much better. Now, I'm going to make a little fixed debt here. You know, of course you can just put, because I can't remember. Of course I'm so bad. Fixed debt. That's called fixed debt. Why, I can never remember range names. All right, we put this, and we're going to attach the macro, and our macro is going to copy and paste two things. If this is true, our macro is going to copy and paste the first. We're going to copy and paste the this right here, this structured, which is debt structured, to debt fixed. Well, I named it differently. I'll never remember that now. And then we're going to copy the, maybe, how about, I'll do this, debt structure. And then this is debt fixed. Okay, so we can kind of remember it. We could have selected this and used the range names, of course. So when this is true, if it's true, we're going to run the macro to copy it and paste it. And then we're also going to run the macro to copy and paste the whatever structured to this number down here. Okay, so let's just switch a macro on. Let's just do that. Simple, not very complicated. Just leave it macro 1 for now. And just go over to here, copy, paste special as values, and then take this whole line, Control C, and then paste special as values, and make sure that you do this. Now stop recording. Shift Control, oops. Shift Control 1, irritate you probably. Then, and of course after we do that, we just put if that's true, then we take the fixed repayment, otherwise we take the sculpted repayment. I said of course, but maybe that's not that obvious. And then on the repayment, we take this number instead. We take the final one we used. And then we can make a little analysis, and let's make, we can make our little graph of the EBITDA and the debt service. Let's do the most basic F11 trick of all. Okay, that's good. And let's just alternate F1, make a graph somewhere. Okay, good, it made it up here. And we want, hopefully it's down there somewhere. Okay, whatever. I think that's good enough, isn't it? We'll put that by our assumptions page. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch it from fixed to not fixed, and we're going to see what happens now. When we, let's assign this macro to the macro 1 we just did. Okay, now when we do that, we'll edit the macro. Okay, and the first thing we do is we say, well, we want to make, we want to use this range name. And the range name, I hope, is, I can remember this, but I think it was fixed debt. So the very first thing we want to do with this macro is, I'm assigning and pressing edit. I don't know, that's kind of a lazy way to do things. And we'll put if range fix debt equal false. We don't need this thing here, do we? Okay, equal false. Then how about not equal true? That's, if we spell something wrong, that's a better way. Then exit the function, the macro exits up. Okay, and then we have our, down here, let's just do this and clean this up a little bit. And I'm going to tell you the problem. This is a problem, and I hate this problem, and I'm not sure we're going to run into it, but I, in a way, hope we do. So we're going to copy the fixed. The fixed equals the structured debt. Debt F equals debt structured. And here's my problem. So this is when it's true. But that's going to cause a little bit of a problem. But right now, let's just do it. Debt, fix, equal range equal range debt structure. I don't know if is that what I use? I'm embarrassed, because when you're watching the video, it's kind of unfair. Debt structured equals debt F. Did I do it wrong? Debt oh shit. Debt STR equals debt F. Okay, sorry. STR. All right, and then we go, okay, and we don't need all this paste special values. And then we go to the range, and that other range I named, so repayment fixed. Well, we're going to copy from repayment structured, so we go to our repayment structured, and we select that whole thing, and then we don't have to go to the right anymore. And I suppose we can put copy code equal false. That's okay. It doesn't really matter there. Yeah, let's take it out from there and copy that. And then go to repay fixed and paste special and switch everything off. Okay? And I'll leave it named macro 1. All right? And then what we're going to do is up here, we'll put another if statement. We can put it like this, equal if it's true, then we, I should have called this, no, if this fixed payment switch is true, then we take the fixed, otherwise we take the structured, all right? And that's what we'll use for, it's about the same thing we did down here, okay? So, we're going to try that, and it's not going to work. I hope it doesn't work at least. Where the heck's the graph? Okay, and here's why it's not going to work. We'll see if it doesn't work. Okay, so, all right. Let's change the DSCR a little. Let's change it to 1.3. All right, now when we do that, I hope we have a different level of debt, and then the debt from the fixed repayment is different than the debt from the variable repayment. Now, if I go here and change this from, let's make it false at first, okay, and then I change it to true, it copied and pasted everything, okay? And when it copied and pasted everything, I think it worked. Shoot, just a minute. And then we have our basic graph. Maybe it's good that happened. Just a minute. I want to show you some problem I'm having in the real world. Now let's change it back to 1.25. Okay, and then we have to switch it off, and when we switch it off, it didn't work because, well, why didn't it work? Just a minute, it should have, when we switched this off, this now should have taken our structured debt, which it did, and then it should have taken this fixed repayment doesn't matter anymore, and then our closing balance, I should have put a closing balance test in here, but our closing balance didn't go to 0. Now let me just wait for a minute. Okay, this video is getting a little long, I apologize, but so I'm gonna change the life to 25. Look at that, that's kind of cool. And I fixed something. I just had I didn't use the F4 appropriately here. Otherwise it was working. That wasn't the problem. But this is the problem. So let's say I change this and I want to put a 1.3 times coverage in. 1.5. You see we have more space, less debt. Then I fix the debt. And then it doesn't work properly. It doesn't fix the debt. And here's why, I think. Let me try to explain why it happens. When we fix the debt, we put the correct amount here, But when we copied the debt, now the copying, when we copied the repayment, it changes. So it's a real pain. It's a real pain. I hate it. I shouldn't moan like that. I shouldn't cry. Okay, and here's basically what you do. You go to the assign macro. And I also put a fixed base address here, so I fixed the address, okay? And then what you do is you, here is the problem. You need to then switch the fixed debt to be true again. We need to put this fixed debt to be false, and here's why. You've got to put it back so it's in the kind of in the calculation mode, and then you when you're all the way finished, you have to change this back to true, and then it will copy. So let's try that. I hate that little horrible thing. You see right now it doesn't work. Let's change it back to false. So now we're doing it. And let's change this to 1.3. And now we rerun the macro. And now I think it worked. Let's try it again. Let's switch it off. Let's switch the debt tenor to 15 years maybe. And let's change this to 1.2 maybe. And then we switch it to fixed debt. And then it works. That little painful thing, I hate it. But it's an important thing. That thing of switching the true and the false off. And then you can kind of do this in your models. And that's the kind of cleaned up structure. And then if we fix the debt, then we can put a lower growth rate in and see if we can't pay off the debt. Of course we can't. Then, so let's put a higher growth rate in. But put a lower EBITDA in. And, oops, I'm going the wrong way, it seems. Okay. And that's once we fix it, I hope it's going down, yeah. It's not going, the growth rate mattered more. I suppose I could say that's interesting, it's not really, but. All right, so now you can run this all and do this. So let's review this, and maybe I'm gonna put this little macro into the other page, okay? Let's put this into the other page. All right. Oof. I wish, there's this macro thing or whatever. I wish it would be easier to, whatever, I'll stop moaning. I'm moaning and crying too much today. Oops, maybe we put it to 10, okay. And take the grid lines out, take the grid lines out. Most important thing of anything else. So that's what we do. We have to, if it's true, not equal true. If it's false, then if we're fixing that, don't run the macro. But if it's otherwise, this is the horrible thing. You got to reset it to false anyway, and then you do your copy and paste, and then you're finished. Okay, so this is the macro to fix. Alright, and that is it. Up, and I better put no, and I better save this as and this is with a macro. And we're going to try to do it with a function next. And I'm going to save it as and I'm wasting your time. You can turn off the video now. I should have turned it off. You don't care about this. I'm going to put it I don't know where I'm going to put it in a mini perm exercise. I think this is going to be in the advanced project finance section. I'll show you next, okay? Enough of that. Finally, this violated almost my